Do you own a timeshare?
Lots of people do, and some find getting out of the arrangements nearly impossible.
Joining us to talk more about getting out of a timeshare agreement is Gordon Newton of Newton Group Transfers.
He is a timeshare exit industry specialist. Welcome, Gordon. I think I've never heard so many more commercials on, especially AM radio, of these companies now advertising to help to get you out of these arrangements. I guess my first question is, why would someone want to get into a timeshare? What's the benefit?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, and second of all, look, it's not the timeshare owner's fault. These resorts are really good at what they do. They're good at selling timeshares to folks who come in and say no. They're good at breaking that pact. I tell people, look, they've mastered their craft at selling timeshares, but fortunately for timeshare owners, we've mastered a craft at getting them out. It's funny you mentioned that, all these radio ads and everybody making these promises, we get you out of your money back, or we have attorneys on staff. How do you see through and actually find a reputable company? That's why I wrote the Consumer's Guide to Timeshare Exit. It's to help level the playing field between consumer and these companies and these attorneys and the resorts all promising the same thing. How can you find your way through to a safe and legal end to your timeshare ownership?
I want to hear how we get out of the contract, but first I just want to ask you, is there ever a time, because a lot of families are looking for reasonable ways to vacation, is there ever a time where getting a timeshare is a good thing?
Well, I tell folks who are looking to buy a timeshare, I say understand what you own. The first thing I tell people is, look, you need to understand that these things are not assets. They're not to be considered assets. They are liabilities, and the value you get out of them is purely in its use. So understand what you're signing on the dotted line for, and if they work for you, great. We're here to help those timeshare owners when they've reached the end of their life cycle of timeshare ownership. Time has changed, maybe finances has changed, divorce happens, life happens, and they're looking to end their timeshare ownership. Those are the folks that we focus on helping.
Why can't I just sell it or get rid of it? Why is it so difficult?
That is the number one question we get asked. And, at the beginning here, I can tell you that right now there's a little 9.2 million timeshare owners in the United States. It's estimated at any given time there's 1 million people looking to end their timeshare ownership. So there's a glut of inventory out there of people that just want the maintenance fees to stop, the special assessments, the burden of ownership. They're probably not using it anymore, or life's changed and they want it to end. So there's a lot of inventory right now. A simple online search, you'll see thousands listed for free or for $1. The other side of that is, when we touch on this in the Consumer's Guide to Timeshare Exit, is that in some cases some resorts are actually devaluing your timeshare the moment you want to try and resell it. They do this because you're in competition with them. They want to be the ones who can actually sell these timeshares, and they don't want to hand it off to somebody else, which is also in part why they've written these contracts so well that go on into perpetuity. But I tell folks there is hope for timeshare owners, and it begins with education. And I tell people to go to myexitguide.com and download their free copy, and they'll be that much better off.
What is your best tip for getting out of a contract?
As a consumer, education. I'm telling you right now, that will really help you understand. The Consumer's Guide, yes, it's written by Gordon Newton of Newton Group Transfers. We help end timeshare ownership, but there's a checklist at the end. So if you want to vet us with that same checklist, or anybody else out there, it's written in a way where we actually have to raise the bar for our organization as well, too, to match up to what the guide says. So there are real protections that you need to ask for as a consumer, as a timeshare owner, when you're ending your timeshare. You have to see through the marketing. You mentioned before all these radio ads. We get you out of your money back. That sounds very promising on the front end, but what people don't realize is you have to ask the next question. When will you get me out?
Exactly.
The answer is they really don't know. So you have to ask for financial protections during your exit process. And that's in the Consumer's Guide. The other thing is they say we have attorneys on staff. You guys have to understand what that means. Because a company has an attorney on staff, you have an attorney representing you. In these cases with us, if we deem it necessary to gain legal counsel, we make sure that legal counsel represents the individual timeshare owner. And that's really important. And again, the only way you would understand that and know the difference is if you downloaded a copy of the Consumer's Guide.
Real quick, we only have about 30 seconds left, but you say don't go back and try to negotiate with the resort itself?
Well, I say that because, again, many of these places have what's considered to be the license to lie. They can make oral promises, and a lot of our clients have come back to us after they've said, well, I went back to the resort, and they said if I bought this point package, I'd be able to get out. Again, you're agreeing to the written terms. So it's very dangerous going back to somebody with a license to lie, and whom, by the way, is financially incentivized to do so. You expect them to treat you with fairness. It's just a bad idea. I don't recommend it, in large part from all the stories that we hear coming back to us.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you so much.
That was really interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
No, our pleasure. All right, to learn more about Gordon's company and how it might be able to help you, head to myexitguide.com.